with a topic of what to nickname the defensive line of your Tennessee Titans. We felt like we should turn to the one and only guest with arguably the greatest name of any of the guests that we've ever had. And you know him. He's a friend of the podcast. He is a former co-host of the podcast. He is none other than Luke Worsham. Luke Worsham.
Thrilled to hear it again.
We got him again.
Luke, welcome back to the Tighten Up podcast, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. I will always make time for the podcast that I have heard is the podcast that makes Titans fans dumber.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I will always make time for you guys.
We do. Thanks. Shout out to F Words Pod. Look, we haven't officially chosen a Nashville media beef yet.
Yeah, whatever happened.
But my goodness, F Words is taking like the reins, the horns of that bull, and they are trying to wrestle it to the ground. Like they want the beef bad, and so I feel like, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I want to give it to them, but
yeah. We were pretty close to locking it in with Herndon, and then all of a sudden he semi-retires. Whatever.
He's semi-retired. Now we're trying to recruit him over to our podcast. So, we'll see how that goes. But Luke, you, for those that are watching this interview on YouTube.com, you can clearly see for themselves. But Luke, you've had a little bit of a glow up since the last time we've seen you. I don't know what it is.
I'd like to know as well.
Is it? I don't know. Like the 5 o'clock shadow's looking good. I mean, like
I've had a 5 o'clock shadow for a year and a half.
Yeah,
I stopped clean shaving in 2020.
Maybe it's the ring light. Do you have a ring light going
do you
right
have
now?
a ring light?
I have a light, but I feel like I probably had that the last time.
Yeah, I don't
The
know.
last time I was here, I sat in this exact seat, wore the same glasses. I don't know.
I'll tell you what it is, Austin.
Like the
I
t-shirt?
think he just looks older.
Well, he moved places, but he was in it.
I was in this place last time.
I know, but I think we just have this image of you because first impressions mean everything in this world, right, Luke? And he was doing it from his own bedroom with his bed in the background, pretty dimly lit, cave-like situation. Now he's got all this light coming in, beaming on his radiant face, and Luke, here he is, looking better than ever.
Are you older since the last time we got you on the podcast?
I think we all are, no?
That's a good point. Yeah.
True.
Okay. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
All right, Luke, let's get into this.
Yeah, let's take this bull by the horns.
The Tennessee Tickle Monsters.
Yes.
Everyone seems to hate it enough, but nobody's really freaking out about it. I guess some people are on Titans Twitter, Titans Facebook.
There are some people that are freaking out about it.
There's some froking out going on right now.
So let's go pretty general here. What are your thoughts on the Tennessee Tickle Monsters being the nickname for the Titans front four?
I mean, when I first heard it, I thought it was hilarious because like it was intended as a joke at first, and then it caught on, and Justin Graver / Titans Film Room made that great hype video that was funny. What has happened to me is it's like worn on me. Like from Friday, like Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was all I saw on Twitter. Like I saw nothing other than Tennessee Tickle Monsters. and that was the point where it was like, okay, like let's find the new joke. Like joke's funny, but when you tell it 100 times, it sort of loses its luster.
Well, now hang on, not to counterpoint you, but I do feel like I agree with you. If a joke, you tell it too many times, it gets old. But then if you keep telling it, that persistence, it gets funny again.
Well, I guess I'm still waiting for that to come.
It's the old Family Guy mantra. Like if you just keep hitting people with the same joke over and over, that's why Family Guy will hit you with a 5-minute Conway Twitty video in the middle of an episode. It's like, okay, this is funny. All right, this is getting old now. All right, wow, it's funny again. So I think we just need to keep pushing through this it's getting old phase, and then it'll get funny again.
That's like why I tweeted during the game that I was considering muting the word tickle on Twitter so that I didn't have to see it anymore. Like,
maybe a word that should have been muted like long before the Tickle Monsters.
What I do have muted is I have muted every word related to politics so that I never get political tweets. It was the greatest change of my life.
Yeah, I was gonna say I should do that. Damn.
Yeah, Tickle Monsters. It was funny at first, and what's also amusing is like how angry people have gotten over this. It's like, and then like we were talking about this, me and Austin Stanley on the morning show this morning, that how there's been this new effort by the people who don't like it, where it's like now there has to be another nickname, so let's force one. Like I said this morning, like the Sixth Avenue serial killers. You know, like just these stupid names that are being come up with to like try to, you know, like jam the puzzle piece in.
Yeah. Did you do you have a leader in the pack for the dumbest name?
No, I mean I like Broadway Bullies. I think that would have worked if that had been the initial
How
one.
about the Cumberland River Monsters? Yeah.
I just like the Tickle Monsters. I think it's fun.
Like
Tickle Monsters is perfect because it came up organically and it's so funny, and there's no other defense in the history of the NFL that has anything similar.
But
Broadway Bullies is like, okay, you had the Broad Street Bullies in what was that, a baseball nickname, I think? And then like Monsters of the Music City, there's Monsters of the Midway.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like everyone's like trying to. The worst one I saw, someone was like, what about Tenacious D? And then we could get maybe Jack Black to do stuff. And it's like, what? No, like now you're forcing stuff.
It kind of has to be. You remember the Chain Gang with KVB, Javon Curse, Albert Hainsworth, and Tony Brown? And you had a chain on the sidelines. They need to kind of bring a prop into the mix where we can, you know, make it easier on us to give them a nickname. But Luke, I saw Jeffrey Simmons, I think it was Jim Wyatt, who asked him what he thought about it. He wasn't a big fan of the Tickle Monsters. Have any of the other players been asked about this? What have you heard in there?
Yeah, so your uncle Jim Wyatt asked Jeff Simmons about that yesterday, and he was like, no, I don't like that. It's too nice, and we're not a nice group. Ola Adani tweeted that he thinks it's funny.
It's very funny.
Big Bud Dupree liked an Instagram post that talked about it, so we know he's on board.
Okay.
Yeah, that counts in today's day and age of social media. That counts as an endorsement.
Just constantly refreshing Bud Dupree's likes on Twitter to see if he used a nickname that he likes.
And then today on Thursday, John Glennon, also an uncle of the pod, asked Danico Autry what he thought about it. And it was funny because they bring out Autry, and he's not much of a talker, doesn't have a huge personality. And I asked Jim, I was like, you gonna ask Autry about the Tickle Monsters? And Jim was like, nope, I got what I needed out of Simmons on that one. We're gonna move on now. And Kaharski was like,
classic Jim.
Actually, why don't nobody ask about the Tennessee Tickle Monsters? Why don't we just all stop talking about it?
That's classic Kaharski.
That is. Oh my God! You could have. In fact, you didn't even have to say who that was, and I would have been like, "Yeah, that's Kaharski."
And then, of course, John Glennon, being the poker of the bear that he is, we ask our questions that we have for Autry. Like, he didn't do it to take someone's actual work away, but when there was a lull, Glennon goes, "So what do you think about Tickle Monsters?" And that like everyone on our side of the fence just starts uncomfortable laughing.
Yeah, right.
It was so funny. And then of course, Autry said, he's like, it's something. I think he said it's something else.
Yeah.
That's all he had to say.
Look, leave it to the guy who will go undercover at a Nashville nightclub to ask the question, to have the guys who have the stones, the gonads, to ask Danico Autry his thoughts on the Tickle Monsters.
That was a great episode. I listened to that on my way into a training camp practice.
Thank you. Shout out that. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe.
And he ran into Jeff Fisher. The funniest part about it, he ran into Jeff Fisher at the same nightclub while he was trying to kind of cover Pac-Man's tracks.
Right.
So,
speaking of Fisher, I feel like he would be a guy who would be all for Tickle Monsters. Like, I feel like he would be a guy that would embrace it.
He's being inducted into the Ring of Honor on Sunday, which in all likelihood means he will be made available to the media.
Oh, here we go.
Now and then.
Luke, do it, Luke. You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it, Luke.
I would if I had an inclination that he knew what that was.
Look,
it may be even better that he doesn't, though.
That all you have to do is preface it. You say, hey, coach, some people online have been, pushing for this Titans defense to be nicknamed the Tennessee Tickle Monsters. What are your thoughts? Boom. There you go. There you go.
I will say with Jeff Fisher, I feel like he would have something fun to say about that.
He would be all for it because look, if there's any coach that lives online nowadays, it's Jeff Fisher. Like the dude is he's been made so self-aware since he joined Twitter, and it's great to see. He would probably have a phenomenal quote on it.
Oh, yeah, the Tickle Monsters.
I don't think he's tweeted it, and I don't think he's tweeted until he like removed himself from the John Gruden foolishness.
Yeah,
well,
probably
yeah.
safe. Probably safe to take a hiatus.
Right.
What do you think you would say though?
Fly fishing.
Oh, the Tickle Monsters. I love it. We used to have a good defense. Tickle Monsters.
Yeah. I would like to, if we had some guys that would tickle back in my day, I'd probably still be employed.
Like he makes some sort of joke.
I hate Jared Goff.
That's the funniest thing off of this too, is like, the fans will be like, Trevor Simeon's getting ticklish back there. Like, those sorts of
there's
plays.
so much content made available. Like if we, look, if we nickname them the Broadway Bullies, oh, cool. The Broadway Bullies, but like if they're actual, like we actually all agree their nickname is the Tickle Monsters, there's so much content to be had on the internet, and it would be so funny. And look, and here's my whole take on the whole thing. And I shared it at the top of the episode, but I feel like I need to tell you, like, people like to say like, oh, Tickle Monsters, it's silly, which that I can't argue. It is very silly, but like they like to say that like it's girlish or it's not manly enough. And it's like,
but that's why it's funny.
But yes, and I agree with you there. I agree with you. But for the people that don't have a sense of humor, that are extreme stick in the muds, to them, I would say, look, Tickle Monsters, there is nothing in this world more terrifying than being tickled. Like, think about it. Like, what's like when someone comes chasing at you with the with their wiggly fingers? Is there anything more terrifying than that?
No, there can't be. Yeah,
I would rather get stabbed than get tickled. Like I would legitimately, I would legitimately. There's nothing more terrifying. And Luke, you threw out an option in our group chat. I'm not going to say it on the
that's
podcast.
a tough look.
There's a reason it was in the chat and not spoken out loud.
Yeah.
It's very funny. I will give you that, Luke. You were very funny, but I will not say it because we don't want to get canceled.
But speaking of hard hitting running backs, Luke, there are so we're at a point in the fantasy season where a lot of bye weeks are popping up. Injuries have happened. People are trying to.
I've gone 0-2 these last 2 weeks because of that.
I know, and people are trying to tread water. Let's play a game of start, bench, cut, fantasy edition.
Ooh, good game, good game.
Is this like F, Marry, Kill?
Yes.
Yes, exactly like F, Marry, Kill. So you've got Deontay Foreman,
Okay.
Adrian Peterson,
Okay.
Jeremy McNichols, fantasy style. This is not who's producing for the Titans, who's more valuable, between the 20s, whatever you want to talk about there, but just strictly fantasy football. Start, bench, cut with those three. Go.
I like how we're asking the guy who admittedly just went 0-2 in fantasy for his fantasy advice. But yes, what do you got?
Are we talking like for this week or until the end of the season?
Let's go to the end of the season, or till Henry comes back. If it's before the end of the season,
we would be cutting Jeremy McNichols because he's concussed and probably won't play.
Okay.
Okay. Rest of the season. That's tough because I think we have still yet to see the role shake out between Adrian Peterson and Deontay Foreman. I would start Peterson if for no other reason than he seems to be their short yardage guy, and that's where you get the touchdowns. And if Deontay Foreman is not going to be that guy for them, I don't foresee him getting enough production on like first and second down runs just ordinarily to be worth anything in fantasy wise. But Peterson will get you those touchdowns. So I'd probably start Peterson. I would cut McNichols. I mean, he's done nothing with Henry out. Yeah. And now he has a concussion. And I'd bench Deontay Foreman.
No, there's a little. I think that you could consider, without McNichols being available this week, they throw to the running back fairly often in this offense. Would you say Foreman has the most to gain in that regard?
In terms of receptions?
Yeah, just catching the ball. Maybe you're in a PPR league.
I don't know. I feel like McNichols is still probably the preferred option there. We just
Well, without
I think,
McNichols, I'm saying.
I think a lot of people were excited about McNichols when Henry went out. It was like, hey, he's played very well in a limited role, get to see what he does with more opportunities. And it's been like less than it was with Henry out there.
Yeah.
Luke, what's your take on the offense as a whole? Because I feel like a lot of people, and look, this is kind of, how we joke all the time about first world problems.
Yeah.
I feel like Titans fans right now are dealing with first place problems because they can't decide on. I mean, it's the whole reason why Tickle Monsters beef has grown to the heights that it has, is because like there's really nothing to complain about. But people like to get nitpicky when the Titans, maybe only put up 23 points against the Saints. They like to say, oh, well, the offense is looking a little sluggish, or not. They're not quite the same beast they were without Derrick Henry, which I think was we all expected. But what is your take for overall for this offense? And like, do you think it's something that they just need to find their footing without Derrick Henry lined up in their backfield, or is this just what we should expect the rest of the season?
I do think that they need to find their footing, because when they lost Henry and then subsequently Julio Jones for the foreseeable future as well, I think they lost their explosiveness. And I think it would be unfair for us to expect them to go out and have, multiple 25, 30-yard plays every week, unless it's A.J. Brown producing those. But what doesn't have to be lost, the explosiveness might be gone, but the efficiency can still be there. And that's what I don't think we've seen over the last 2 weeks. They've been pretty good in short yardage and in the red zone, but first and second down, they haven't been great. They haven't consistently moved the ball. They've looked out of sync, not in a rhythm. And I think part of that is they're still probably under a fog, under a haze from, not having Derrick Henry. Now, we had Teron Davenport on the No Nonsense podcast this week, and he made the comment. He said, step number one to fix that is don't play the Saints or the Rams anymore, right? Because the Rams have Aaron Donald and that incredible secondary with Jalen Ramsey, and the Saints were the number one running defense in the league. So like that plays a role in this, certainly the fact that the talent of the two defenses they just played, but the rhythm needs to improve. And I think that falls on the shoulders of Ryan Tannehill, who, Todd Downing made the comment about him today, said that it's a shame that his stats aren't indicating the type of season he's had. And I would agree with Downing that Tannehill's been better than the stats, but I'm getting concerned with the interceptions with Tannehill 3 weeks in a row, that a really ill-advised interception from him. But I think it is going to be his job to get this rhythm back, because as Vrabel said, when I asked him about Tannehill on Monday, that means the Titans, go as he goes.
Yeah. As the season moves along, conversations develop, and when you're talking about the Pro Bowl, I think a lot of Titans fans are excited this year. Realistically, how many Titans do you think could get into that Pro Bowl?
I wrote about this yesterday, and I say 3. I think it's Byard, Landry, and Simmons at this point.
That's it.
I think Autry, the problem with Autry is he's had like 3 really explosive games.
No Kevin Byard?
Did I said, I meant, did
you say Byard?
Byard, Landry, and Simmons was what I meant to say. I'm not sure what actually came out.
So
what I'm saying is Autry's problem is he's had like 3 explosive games, and then a lot of games where he's making an impact, but in terms of the Pro Bowl and that individual accolade, I don't think he's just quite reached that status yet. But Landry has more sacks than everyone other than TJ Watt. Simmons has the most sacks of all the inside guys. And outside of Trayvon Diggs, Byard has the most picks in the league. All 3 of those guys have been outstanding. As
you may know, we on this podcast started a campaign to get Saffold laid, to get Roger Saffold into Hawaii. I know that there's been some injuries along the way this season with him, but I want to ask you about not only him, but what are the chances, because we're heading into week 11?
Yes.
And Derrick Henry is still tied for the the lead in rushing
Are you
yards
going
in
to
the
ask
NFL?
about Derek getting in the Pro Bowl?
I
Yeah.
mean, could it happen?
Because so I went to vote the other day, and he was not an option to vote for.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's mean.
That
That's,
seems kind of rigged.
he leads the NFL in rushing yards right now.
I know, because I was going to vote for him. I was on the same page as y'all with this.
Yeah.
Does Jonathan Taylor pass him in rushing yards this week?
I think so, because he
Yeah.
needs one.
He needs 1 yard.
What if he doesn't though? Huh?
If he doesn't, then I think you'll have a lot of.
Then should we
Colts
put
fans.
Derek back on the ballot?
Sure, Derek should be on the ballot as things are. I don't know why he's not.
Now, Luke, I know, you know, in terms of NFL writers and people who cover the Titans, you still, compared to the other journalists, you kind of have to earn your stripes a little bit. But do you have right now, as we stand today, do you have any pull to get Saffold laid? Like, do you have any inside to get Roger Saffold laid?
That's such a bizarre question.
Why?
Well, what do you mean? It's LEID.
Yeah, what are you thinking, dude?
LEID, which stands for.
Do you not know what laid? Like you get it laid, like
You
when
get
you go
the
to Hawaii,
Hawaiian flower
Honolulu, you get
necklace?
a lay.
There you go. No,
Oh,
Luke, we're not
geez.
asking you to do anything
Oh my
weird.
gosh,
man.
gotta earn his stripes and a dictionary.
Look, I love Roger Saffold. He's going to be quoted in this column that I'm writing in an hour, but
Okay,
he's been in and out. He's been hurt.
so you don't think you can get him laid?
I don't think he deserves to be laid. No.
Oh wow,
Man, his wife
Wow.
probably begs to differ.
Last year, sure. Last year I'd have thrown him in there, but yeah, the injury stuff being it, like this offensive line hasn't had a full game together, and he's part of the problem of that.
Yeah.
So you're saying it would be really hard.
I mean, I guess it would suit him well that you only play like a quarter in the Pro Bowl. Like, I think he'd be able to do that. But yeah, it's been a problem for him finishing games, as it has for Lawan and Jones. Davis has been out. Quesenberry's the only one that's been in there the whole time, I think.
Yeah.
Although
that's not good.
he did, technically, he had to come out for a play because he had a helmet issue, I think. But he was out for like a play.
Yeah. Okay. So through this win streak, right? Titans fans are used to being hurt. There's PTSD from past losses in games they should win. I think a lot of fans last week had the idea that, okay, they've probably, the tank's running on E, just emotionally after such a long win streak against, 5 straight, or heading into last week, it was 4 straight teams that made the playoffs in the previous season. And the Saints seemed like that team that would maybe jump up and give them some problems. Now, thanks to the Saints kicker, the Titans survived just barely. But I mean, looking at the Titans schedule ahead, because up until this point, they've had the hardest schedule in the NFL. Now they have the easiest schedule of all 32 teams in the NFL.
Yep.
Where is a point where you see them getting tripped up? Because I mean, let's be honest. I don't know that it's the Houston Texans this week.
Well, hold on, but you do have to factor in the fact that, kind of as you said, Jack, this team, like every Titans fan knows that, like when the Titans string together a good streak of games, then the Titans do have what we call a quote unquote Titans game, where they lose to a team they have no business losing to. Cough, cough, the New York Jets, cough. Like, so it's like, we're not like unfamiliar to that even this season alone.
That's a more than fair point. I mean, I've been on that for the last 2 years because it's been such a Vrabel thing. But I thought last week had the potential to be that game. Trevor Siemian, no Alvin Kamara.
Right.
They're using 32-year-old Mark Ingram. I know the run defense is good, but the Saints weren't anything to write home about. And they went in and took care of business. And it wasn't pretty, but they got the job done in a game that I feel like in the past would have been that letdown game. I think that we should continue to keep our eyes open, even though I do think that win over the Saints proved that they've matured. And I wrote that after the game and matured in that regard specifically. I just don't see it being the Texans. I think they're just so the Texans have no hope, with which the Jets do, right? Jets had the hot commodity at head coach with Robert Saleh. They've got this rookie quarterback that hadn't played a lot, but he did some nice things, especially against the Titans. And they got Corey Davis. Like they've got some exciting things. The Texans have nothing to be exciting about. Their one good player is Brandon Cooks, and he wanted out of town apparently at the trade deadline. So like they've got the Deshaun Watson stuff. Hey, like I just see very little chance of this being really a very close game just because of the off the field things with the Texans.
Yeah.
Now, this is a question not just for Luke, but for the room. When you were watching the Saints game on Sunday, you brought up Mark Ingram. Does Mark Ingram wearing number 14?
Weird.
Bizarre.
Did he look slimmer? To me, he looked like younger. He looked younger wearing number 14. He kind of had, I think 14 gives him a little bit of the glow up, kind of like the Luke Worsham glow up.
Did you change numbers, Luke?
Yeah, Luke, are you wearing number 14 right now?
I'm not wearing number 14 right now.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I hate the new number rule. I wish they would have left it the way it was.
Oh, geez. You're such a curmudgeon. Luke.
I know.
Luke, how are you? Aren't you Gen X? Aren't you a Gen Xer?
Gen Z.
Or Gen Z. I mean, that's what I meant. Yeah, Gen Z. So you're a Gen Zer. You, more than anyone, should be all for new cool things. And here you are. You're like, nah, I don't like the new number rule.
Luke's the type of guy who says, I was born in the wrong generation.
Yeah. Luke, yes. Come on. You're supposed to fight on behalf of the cool things in the NFL, against the ridiculous norms that we've grown up with.
Blaine Bishop started calling me the old man on Monday. So.
Look, Blaine's saying it, and Blaine played for the Tennessee Oilers. That right there, if he's saying it, then okay, I need to start taking this to heart a little bit.
Jack, you asked a second ago. I didn't answer your whole question. You asked where could the trap be? And I don't know if it's necessarily a trap. I think New England's playing really, really well right now. 5-1, I think, in their last 6 or something like that. Going to Foxborough, I think that's going to be a really big challenge for this Titans team, and more of a challenge than at this point a lot of fans are making it out to be.
Revenge game for the playoffs. They're still looking for that to avenge that 2019 loss.
Because we pretty much
Belichick is still looking for his first win over Mike Vrabel. He's 0-2 right now.
I love Luke's technique of answering a question from 2 questions ago.
He doesn't forget though.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't credit to him. He doesn't forget the question. He just answers it 2 questions.
Oh,
later.
Luke, why can't Randy Bullock make the Pro Bowl?
Justin Tucker.
Because don't they have more than one kicker?
I thought the same thing. Nope, one for each conference.
That's not enough.
Okay. Well, what about this? Could Randy Bullock make the Pro Bowl in Roger Saffold's place as a lineman?
Huh? If Randy Bullock makes a 67-yard field goal, then we can put Randy Bullock in.
Oh, no. I don't want him at kicker. I want him at left tackle.
Yeah, come on. He's got the body type.
Right?
You talk about NFL bodies, that's Randy Bullock.
That is Randy Bullock. Randy Bullock has an offensive guard's body trapped inside a kicker's height.
Yeah,
Randy Bullock could be a goal line running back in this league.
I did see a great tweet the other day.
Randy Bullock somehow looks fatter than Mark Ingram. I don't know how that happened.
The tweet was at someone who has been out of shape about.
They both wear 14.
And they were like, so we can say Fat Randy and that's okay, but Tickle Monsters is too far for you.
You should ask Randy what he thinks about being called Fat Randy.
I wonder if he's been asked. Surely he has.
I don't know. I feel like
I've never spoken to him. The only times they made him available were on the road.
Huh. Well, next time you get to talk to Randy, maybe it's a bye week. Tell him that we want to know. We put out some homework for Kayla Anderson last week to clarify how to pronounce Nick Westbrook-Akine's last name, because people are still calling him Akina.
Yeah,
and we got to the bottom of it on the podcast with him.
Yeah.
And, you still hear Mike Keith and all the guys who are in with, who are in the building still saying Akina. We got to get that to change. We got to figure out if Randy Bullock likes being called Fat Randy.
Yeah. My homework is also to ask Jeff Fisher about TTM.
Yes. Good point.
That's true.
You've got a lot on your plate.
That is true. Yeah. Nick Westbrook-Akine corrected me after a 25-minute conversation with him. Corrected me with how I was pronouncing it the entire 25 minutes. At the very end, he was like, by the way, you're pronouncing it wrong. And I felt like we were breaking news at that point, but I guess I guess no one in the media listens to this damn podcast, or else they would know how to pronounce his damn name. So
Just
we
stick with Nick or NWI. That's how you can be safe.
Well, yeah, that's what we do.
I think the only time that's happened to me in a player is I was talking to Matthias Farley during training camp. And I think it's actually technically like Matthias, like that you actually say the TH. It's like Matthias Farley. And I kept calling him Matthias, like Matthias Ekholm.
Sure, right. As you should. Yeah.
The Swedish fish.
I'm like, hey, Matthias, I appreciate it. And then I'm like, that's not his name. Like, I didn't even have to, like, no one corrected me. I just did it. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely not his name.
If only everyone had a name as easy to say as Luke Worsham. Luke Worsham. Luke, dude. Actually, Jack, I didn't even check with you. Are you out of questions for Luke?
Yeah, no, I am. Yeah.
All right,
Luke Worsham, like,
I'm really never out of questions for Luke, but
I hear a lot of
constraint.
Worsham, like Worsham.
Who says it? Who says it? Name names. Name names.
I can't think. I don't remember. I have heard Worsham before. That's wrong.
Oh,
Luke, we will go to the end of the earth to make sure that they're pronouncing your last name right.
Yeah, it's not like we don't. It's not for lack of us not saying it enough times on this podcast. Luke, thank you for taking the time to join us. We want to know, we asked Kayla Anderson last week for her skincare regimen. With your glow up, we might need to be asking you instead for your skincare technique.
My skincare regimen is Old Spice body wash.
Okay.
Hey,
write that down.
It's getting cold. Yeah. Okay. So what is it? Evian water and Old Spice body wash.
Old Spice Swagger is what I use.
He probably.
I have the same one. It smells
really
good.
For like 8 years. So.
Yeah, but you bathe in like Voss bottled water, don't you?
I bathe in.
You just fill a bathtub full of Voss.
I don't bathe in the same thing you do because you're in Chicago, but I feel like me and Jack, it might be coming from the same source here.
Yeah,
water here's a little harder. There's not as many Instagram influencers up here in Chicago as there are. All right, Luke, dude, thanks for joining us. You're the man. We appreciate you as always.
Absolutely.